Everyone. Welcome to the first Demystifying the DOJ of 2025. My name is Laura Tinajero, and I am the Community Outreach Manager for the Central Coast region at the Office of Community Awareness, Response, and Engagement, or CARE, here at the California Department of Justice, and I will be your host today. Please note that closed captioning and ASL interpretation is available. To access closed captioning, please select the More tab in the menu bar. American Sign Language interpretation is available by selecting the world icon. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. We have a great program for you today with remarks from Special Assistant Attorney General Michael Redding. Afterward, we have the honor of hearing from Megan Eshelman, California's Missing Children Clearinghouse Manager here at the California Department of Justice. Megan will share information with us about the Missing and Unidentified Persons section, also referred to as MUPS. Lastly, we will have some time for questions. Please feel free to submit your questions through the Q&A box throughout the presentation. If you are joining us today as a reporter or affiliated with the press, please direct your questions to agpressoffice@doj.ca.gov. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to Special Assistant Attorney General Michael Redding, who will give us a short intro into the Missing and Unidentified Persons Section unit.
Good morning. Thank you, Laura. My name is Michael Redding. As Laura said, I'm a Special Assistant Attorney General. I advise the Attorney General on criminal justice, law enforcement, and firearms. Take a slightly different tack this morning. In all candor, there's really not much that I can say to properly introduce or add anything to the presentation that Megan will give in just a few minutes, and I'll turn it over after this. But I really just want to say that, it's been my experience. I've been here at the California Department of Justice for 4 years, and it's been a remarkable experience. When I started, my initial primary question was, what does the California Department of Justice do? And I found that throughout the department, in all corners, in all sectors, they, and I say they and we because I'm proud to be a part of it, but I'm really not the one doing the work, are doing incredible work like you'll hear about today, work that's not always publicized, work that doesn't always make it above the fold, although sometimes it does, but really quiet, sustainable, effective, efficient work to solve a myriad of problems and to help people who are in need. The theory of being a lawyer that my dad taught me was, you can't always make everybody's problems go away, but what you can do is take this one piece, this small piece of something that may be a really hard experience for a victim or for somebody who's going through a troubled time, and make that as good as possible for them, explain to them what's going on in a way that makes sense to them and help them get through it. So for the Missing and Unidentified Person system, they're doing incredible work for people who are going through and have gone through, very difficult experiences. And so just very proud of the work that they're doing and happy to hear more from them. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Megan Eshelman, who will tell you more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Again, my name is Megan Eshelman, and I am the California Clearinghouse Manager for the Missing and Unidentified Persons section. This is a smaller section. It falls under the Violent Crime Information Center umbrella. And today we're just going to discuss a little bit about what this small unit is able to do. And I apologize, I've lost the capability to change the screen. There we go. There we go. Sorry about our technical difficulties. So we're going to start off with a little bit about what we do. The Missing and Unidentified Persons section, or more commonly referred to as MUPS, assists law enforcement and criminal justice agencies, not only throughout the state of California, but throughout the entire United States of America, in locating missing persons and helping to identify our unknown live and deceased persons. We do that through a number of different ways, including comparing physical characteristics, such as height, weight, scars, marks, tattoos, by comparing fingerprints. Everybody's already familiar with fingerprints, and also by comparing both dental and body x-rays. Something that we absolutely do not do in our MUP section is handle anything DNA related. The California Department of Justice is a huge department, and we have a completely different bureau that handles our DNA, and then we have a completely different section called the Missing Persons DNA Program, or MPDP, that handles all of the DNA related to both our missing and unidentified persons section. So I just want to be very clear that today we are not going to be discussing anything DNA related, and I would direct you to that unit for any questions regarding DNA. We are mandated to actually handle all of the assistance that we're going to talk about today, and we're mandated through California's Penal Code. It's section 14200. It's pretty extensive. I'm actually very proud of the fact that our penal code is so strict when it comes to the handling of missing person cases. Not every state is as lucky as California. Additionally, we're required to provide training to our law enforcement partners, which is huge. A lot of times a missing person is not considered a crime until it turns into something more nefarious. So it is really important that we are able to train our officers throughout the state so that they can understand the importance of that initial contact with the family and the first responders. Who we are. So again, the MUPS unit is pretty small considering the workload. At any given time, there's over 23,000 active missing person cases throughout the state of California. And at any other given time, we have about 3,500 unidentified persons in the state of California, whether they are, again, alive or deceased, and I'll go over that distinction later. There are 9 employees. We are all non-sworn crime analysts. I personally have been with DOJ since 2001 when I was hired as an analyst, and I joined MUPS in 2009. So I've been there for quite some time. I started as an analyst and then became a supervisor, a manager, and now I'm the program manager overseeing the unit. We also utilize student assistants. So I would encourage you, if you are in college and interested in the work that we do, please apply when we have openings. We definitely utilize our student assistants and we train them to become crime analysts. We are also located in Sacramento. So even though we handle the 23,000 active missing person cases throughout the state, we are 100% based in Sacramento. That is a question that we get often. So now we'll discuss how the MUPS unit can assist the public. The first and main way to reach us is through our 1-800 hotline number. This is, again, something that we are mandated to provide. It is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can see that here. It's 1-800-222-FIND or 3463. We will answer questions surrounding your loved one's disappearance and make recommendations based on your loved one's case. We can also assist you in getting your loved one's information posted on the California Attorney General's public website, which again is accessible to the public, and we can help you to locate needed medical, dental records, x-rays, and various biological samples that might be used later in the investigations. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or more commonly referred to as NCMEC, 1 in 6 missing persons is located just because their photo is out there for the public. So I cannot stress enough how important it is for us to be able to share your loved one's photo with the public, if at all possible. And going back to those medical records, it's important for us to obtain them if at all possible, because going through those records might provide us with information that even you as their family may not know. For instance, if someone has had, let's say, appendicitis and they had to have an emergency appendectomy, they might have a small scar on their abdomen that you've never even seen and weren't really even thinking about. That's something that we could use to help identify them or find them later on in the investigation. So again, medical records are incredibly important. What can you provide to us at MUPS? These are the things that we know are needed to help locate and identify your loved ones. Photographs. Again, I mentioned 1 in 6 people located just because the public sees the photo of a missing person. So obviously facial photos are extremely important, but it's also incredibly helpful for you to provide photographs of any tattoos, any large scars, jewelry that's commonly worn. For example, I have 2 rose gold bracelets that are permanent on my left wrist. That's something that I have on my body at all times. Often people have wedding rings or piercings, anything like that that's commonly worn. It's great for us to know that information. I cannot stress enough the dental or medical records. That is how we would positively identify your loved one should it come to that. Fingerprints from the missing person. Oftentimes, if you go to a community event, a safety fair, there would be a local law enforcement agency representing, usually at some sort of table, and they might provide fingerprint cards to the families, and they might even roll your children's fingerprints at that time and then give you a copy of those. Those can be sent to us, and that would help us in the future as well. And then military records. Oftentimes there are a lot of great information that we can use when it comes to identifying our missing persons in those military records. It includes medical information and other information that perhaps the family has never been notified about. Also, I just want to mention any photographs that you share with us, we would only make available to the public with permission. So who is considered a missing person? Again, I'm only speaking to California. Every state has slightly different laws and definitions. But here in California, a missing person is someone whose whereabouts is unknown to the reporting party. This could include a child who has run away, a child who's been taken out involuntarily, or anyone who's in need of assistance. It does also include a child illegally taken, held, or hidden by a parent or a non-parent family member. But this does also include adults. So again, here in California, our laws are very strict and mostly pertain to both adults and missing persons, where other states still don't have the same requirements from reporting a loved adult as a missing person. Again, here in California, there is absolutely no waiting period. So unfortunately, our TV shows, our various movies, they often will indicate that there's a 24-hour waiting period to report a loved one as a missing person, especially an adult, and that's simply not the case here in California. Again, other states are different. It is a federal law that there's no waiting period to report a child under the age of 18 is missing, but not every state has this same law in effect for adults that we have here in California. Additionally, any law enforcement agency absolutely must immediately assist any person who's attempting to make a missing persons report. So that means a coworker can report someone missing, an employer, a roommate, a neighbor, And of course, a family member can report someone is missing. And again, this applies to both children and adults. Any California police or sheriff's department must help and accept that report. It is regardless of jurisdiction. Obviously, we want to get the families to the correct jurisdiction without delay, but any law enforcement agency can help you determine that. So going back to our California Attorney General's public website, again, this is something that is a tool. It's a tool that's searchable by the public. We profile missing and unidentified persons on this website. The website address has just been added to the chat for you. We do post a missing children's monthly poster that comes out on the 1st of every month. We have a quarterly bulletin that I'll show you. We also post missing person statistics for both children and adults. They're posted every January, so we just updated our statistics with the 2024 statistics. Feel free to look at that, take a look. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. We also have featured missing children and adults on our website, and it's pretty comprehensive, providing other resources as well. Here's an example of the missing person search area on our public website. I want to stress the fact that there is a disclaimer here indicating that there are data limitations in this database. This particular database on our public website is a subset of all of the missing persons that are reported to DOJ. So again, we have over 23,000 active missing person cases. All of that information is contained in the California Missing Persons System, which is a law enforcement only database. This database on our public website is for the public, and it is a smaller subset of all of our missing persons. So again, just because you don't find your loved one, or you see an article in the newspaper, or there's something in social media about a missing person, and you come here and search and we don't have them here on our public website, that does not mean that they're not in the missing person system. It simply means they're not in our public database yet. And that is something that we will only post with our law enforcement investigating agencies' permission to do so. But here you can see it's very easily searched. You can search by first name, first and last name, just last name, or case number, and it'll give you a listing of possible matches with their photographs for you to see. Once you click on one of those persons' pictures, it will pop up with the poster that you see here on the right-hand side that you can then print, and you can either disseminate that through email, or you can print it and post it up for the public to see. And again, we highly encourage anyone to post these photos, whether it's on social media or out physically in the public, to gain further attention for the cases. You can also see along the right-hand side under the title Missing Persons, there are different areas to click on to get different information. So here are some examples. On the left-hand side, that's an example of our Missing Children's monthly Missing Children poster. You can sign up on the same website to subscribe and receive these in your email every month. Again, these are posted on the 1st of every month. We do try to highlight a variety of children in these posters, and we do try to also incorporate cold cases as well as fresh cases. And then on the right, that is an example of our Missing Persons Quarterly Bulletin. So every quarter, we will publish all of the missing children from the website and also our dependent adults. And again, you can subscribe on our website to receive these quarterly. A little bit about living doe cases. This is definitely an area that people don't really know about. It's very common for people to understand what a missing person is, and of course, what an unidentified deceased person is, a John or Jane Doe, as they're commonly called. But somewhere in between, we have these living doe cases. And a living doe is simply someone who's alive, but we're unable to ascertain their actual identity. And this could be because of a number of reasons, including dementia, Alzheimer's, autism, other cognitive impairments. They may have been in a major car accident, or simply they could be a toddler, a baby, someone who's not even verbal and able to discuss their identity. So we do help our living doe cases. We assist social workers with these cases. So if someone has been in an accident, they're in the hospital, or someone has been picked up on the street because, again, they're unable to determine who they are, and they're dropped off at a hospital, we will then begin working with the social workers to try to determine their identity. Obviously, we also need a law enforcement agency to assist with these cases. So it's a multidisciplinary approach, but anyone who is unidentified is missing from somewhere. And our ultimate goal is to reunite these people with their families. The same goes for our unidentified deceased persons. As I mentioned, we have over 3,500 unidentified persons here in California. Unlike the missing person caseload that's governed by our California Penal Code, our decedents are, all of the mandates are coming from our California Government Code. Here in California, we have 58 counties, and most of those are coroner counties, meaning they have an elected official who is handling all of the decedent cases. But we do have a handful of counties that are medical examiner counties. So they are handled a little bit differently, but both coroners and medical examiners have to follow the California Government Code. So if someone has been found deceased and they have not been able to identify them within 10 days, then our unit is notified. After 45 days, a forensic odontologist must examine those remains and provide us with dental charting and x-rays. So again, that goes hand in hand with us receiving those dental x-rays for our missing persons. That's the only way we can compare and make a positive identification. If after 6 months, these persons are still not identified, then the coroner or medical examiner, whatever agency is handling this death investigation, must submit a final report to us that would include an anthropology report, fingerprints, photographs, again, those dental records if they haven't been sent to us within the 45-day window, toxicology, autopsy reports. All of that information is then gathered by our unit in MUPS, and entries are made into the unidentified person system. So it's kind of like the counterpart to our missing person system. We put in the same type of information that we're putting in for the missing persons, and then that allows our analysts to compare and contrast those records to come up with possible matches. So different investigative services that we provide to our law enforcement partners, our coroners, our medical examiner offices. We provide some investigative leads by utilizing various databases. Some of them are open source, meaning the public has access to that information as well. Sometimes it's as simple as Googling someone's information to get some social media information that perhaps they weren't aware of. But we also pay for various databases, and we have law enforcement only databases that our analysts will search and then provide those leads to the investigators. And again, I mentioned we will search and compare physical descriptions of our missing and unidentified persons for possible matches. So that includes height, weight, age, race, any scars, marks, or tattoos. That sort of information is searchable. I mentioned multiple times the dental comparisons. That is the number one way that our MUPS team is able to make positive identifications. We work hand in hand with forensic odontologists throughout the state. And then, of course, we facilitate fingerprint assistance and comparisons in partnership with, here at DOJ, we have a unit called our Cal ID or Cal Identification Unit, and they will make those fingerprint identifications for us. So I will move into a brief case study. As we get started with this, I wanted you to also be aware of the fact that, again, we have 58 counties here in California. Each one of them has a district attorney's office, and each district attorney's office has a child abduction unit within that office. These units are for those parental or family abduction cases. So they are not handling stranger abductions, but they do handle family abduction cases or parental abduction cases, whether that is where the parents are both here in the United States or here in California, or if it's where the child has been taken out of state or taken out of the country, or in some cases brought into California. The child abduction units at the DA's offices handle these cases. They're usually comprised of, depending on the size of the county, a district attorney, sometimes multiple attorneys, and some district attorney investigators. So this is Angela. She was 3 years old at the time of when her mother took her. Her parents they were not married. They did go through court to obtain a custody order, and both parents had 50-50 custody. At the time, there wasn't any indication of domestic violence or anything like that. They simply were no longer in love. They decided to split custody 50-50. And one day when Angela was 3 years old, her mother decided to leave with her. Her father, that was left behind, immediately made a police report with the local police agency, and then was referred to the district attorney's office child abduction unit because this was a parental abduction case. The last that the authorities were able to track Angela, her mother had taken her through Southern California and into Mexico. And then we lost track of her. So throughout the years, Angela's father continued to work with our law enforcement here in California. He also worked with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or NCMEC, to open up a case with them. And NCMEC's contact information, their website, is available for you to as well in the fact sheet that's provided to you. But I encourage you to definitely reach out to that nonprofit as a resource. They are amazing. They have a lot of funding, and they have so many different programs that can help families. One of them is through their forensic art program. So throughout the years, every 2 years until a child turns 18, they will produce a forensic image of what the child might look like today. And so again, we had that one photograph of Angela when she was last taken at age 3. And this is what the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children use. They use their software programs to produce a photograph of what they thought Angela might look like at age 18. So again, this case was being handled by the Orange County District Attorney's Office. And I mentioned earlier that we train our law enforcement partners throughout the state on best practices for handling missing person investigations. And this particular district attorney investigator had attended one of our trainings, went back to the office, and started doing some more searches on his cold cases. So one of the things that we like to remind our cold case investigators on is that, when a child is taken at a young age and you do searches based on their name or date of birth, you're not going to find very much, right? Sometimes here in California, we might have a child that has an identification card through the DMV, but most children do not have that, and most children don't have a huge online presence. However, as they get older, once they turn 16, they might have a driver's license here or in another state. Other things might start to pop up as they age. So at age 18, they might have registered to vote somewhere. They may have a fishing license. They may have utilities registered in their names. So there are now more and more databases that you can look in to try to find these children. Even though they're no longer considered children, they're still considered missing if they haven't been reunited with their families. And so that's what he did with Angela. Angela did have a very common last name, but he searched her name and date of birth again and actually came up with a hit in California's DMV system for identification card that had recently been obtained. This is the photograph where another Angela, same last name, same date of birth, had obtained a California identification card. I personally think that these photographs look pretty similar. And I think it's pretty amazing the job that NCMEC was able to do with this forensic enhancement of that photograph from when she was age 3. So our district attorney investigator reached out to both his DA and also our team at DOJ because he thought perhaps I have found Angela. But he wanted to know about best practices for reaching out to Angela. This identification card had recently been obtained, so we didn't know for sure if it was her. We do have DNA on file in our missing persons DNA program from her father. So we knew if we were able to reach her and make contact with her, and if she was willing to provide a DNA sample, we could definitely prove whether or not she was the same Angela that we were looking for. So we did get in touch also with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They have, again, so many programs that can help families. And one of them that helps with things such as reunification is they have social workers on hand that are trained in trauma-based reunification and can provide lots of insight as they've done this many, many times before. So we were very lucky to get on a conference call with NCMEC and discuss our options. It was decided that we wouldn't reach out to Angela at her home location. We didn't want to scare her with a police presence. So it was decided that we would reach out to her at her place of employment. And the DA investigator did go to that place of employment, spoke with her employer, explained the circumstances that obviously Angela is not in any trouble. We were just hoping to speak with her to see if she was in fact our long-term abducted child. And the employer was very willing to help, had indicated that Angela did not speak English. So we knew then we would need a Spanish interpreter as well. So we decided to reach out to that county's victim witness program within the DA's office. We selected a victim advocate who was female and also Spanish speaking, and a district attorney investigator who was female and Spanish speaking. They reached out to Angela at her place of employment, explained who we were, that they were there because her father had been looking for her this whole time, and asked her if she had any questions. Was she aware of the fact that she had been taken at age 3? And Angela indicated that yes, she had. And she was here in the US in hopes of possibly reuniting with her father. One of the things that we always have to take into consideration with a long-term reunification, especially a parental abduction, is we have no idea what that taking parent told that child. We've seen cases where they change the appearance of the child drastically, even taking a female child, cutting their hair and dressing them like a little boy, telling them that the left behind parent was abusive or is even deceased. So we did not know what Angela's mom had told her. Luckily, in this case, Angela indicated her mom never said that anything negative about her father. She simply said that she wanted to raise Angela with her family in her home country. So Angela did not have any ill will against her father and was very willing to meet him. She was a little scared, though, as understandable. So she didn't want him to know where she lived or where she worked, and she wanted to meet him in common ground. So we were able to accommodate that. Angela was found in Los Angeles County. Her dad and the case reside in Orange County. So she was driven to the Orange County District Attorney's office for that first meeting with her father. And you can see here that it ended up being a very happy reunification. I am happy to report that they are still in communication. They've spent multiple holidays and extra time together. The way that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children did and continue to help is they have a program called Team Hope. And those are volunteers of parents and children who have been abducted who will work with people going through that today. Obviously they have an understanding that the rest of us don't have. And so it's a great resource that I do know that Angela utilized. A little a fun part of the story for me that was that her father was remarried and had or doesn't have children with his wife, but his wife has children from a previous marriage. And she was there for the reunification as well. And at the end of the meeting, they exchanged contact information, and Dad was just so excited to have Angela back in his life. And he's like, "Can we meet again? Is there anything that you would want to do?" And she was like, "I would like to go to Disneyland." And her dad was like, "Of course, we'll go to Disneyland." And his wife said, "You know what? I have been trying to get him to go to Disneyland for years with my daughters, and he's always said he wanted to wait for Angela." So again, not every case turns out like this. We don't always have these positive reunifications, but when we do, it obviously makes it worth it. So these cases, as you can see, they take a multidisciplinary approach. It's not just, a district attorney's office or DOJ or NCMEC. It takes everybody working together for these cases. Another really bright spot in our office is our Missing Children's Day poster contest. This is for fifth graders throughout the state and actually throughout the country. We just had our deadline last month, but I would encourage you to reach out. You can go to our website for more information. This year we had over 200 submissions for posters. This was our winning poster previously. By the time I submitted this presentation for approval, we had not selected our winner this year, but our winner is coming from Bakersfield this year. A little girl named Jocelyn created our winning poster, and our poster has now been submitted to the national contest. If selected, Jocelyn will win a trip to Washington, D.C. to celebrate Missing Children's Day, which is on May 25th. This poster contest brings such joy to our office. We hang the posters throughout, and it's something to brighten our day when oftentimes a lot of the cases that we look at are pretty dark. So we really appreciate you spreading the word about our poster contest. And again, this is for fifth graders. So if you have a fourth grader now, next year, we would love for your fifth grader to participate in this contest. So here's again, our main contact information. You can reach us at the 1-800 number or also via email. If you go to our website, again, there is a link that you can click on to email us directly from the website as well. And now I will invite Michael back for any question and answers.
Great, thank you very much. And everybody, please submit any questions that you have in the chat. One that we received, Megan, do you have any recommendations for people who want to help publicize the work that you all are doing, especially with regard to specific missing persons?
I definitely think if you can spread the word on social media, that has been huge recently for solving multiple cases. You can share it via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Any of those platforms can be vitally helpful in finding someone and locating them safely. We also have another system called the National missing and unidentified person system, which sounds like it's a law enforcement database, but it's actually kind of a mixture. It is for law enforcement use, but it's also accessible by the public. It's called NamUs. So if you Google NAMUS, that'll come up immediately, and the public can enter cases into NamUs as well. And then law enforcement can add additional information on the back end that may or may not be visible to the public, but can help with other law enforcement agencies. Again, you can reach out to NCMEC and file a report on behalf of a missing child through NCMEC. One of the other nonprofits that's not nearly as well known, but has been tremendously helpful for cases here in California, is the Black and Missing Foundation. They bring awareness to missing persons of color, provide resources to families and friends, and have a huge social media presence. And in fact, they are spotlighting Oakland PD this year as their partner of the year for law enforcement partner.
Great. You touched on this a little bit, but somebody asked for a little bit more. How can families receive ongoing support and resources to help locate missing loved ones?
Honestly, it pays to be the squeaky wheel. So the more that you can get your loved one's information out there, the better, whether that's reaching out to your local police department or sheriff's department, whoever is handling that case. Continue to reach out, make sure that your case, even if it is considered a quote unquote cold case, that you are still letting them know that you care. Reach out to the media, reach out to us to help with publications. There are various nonprofits that can help. You may have seen them on the highway. You can have highway signs created for your missing loved ones. So it's just important to not stop. You have to keep going. And there are also resources available for families that are in that type of situation where they can help with funding. If you are not from an area where your loved one goes missing, they can help with housing as well.
Great. Somebody asked, besides fingerprinting done by law enforcement, what other ways should people who have missing loved ones seek to obtain medical, dental records? Do you have any advice for them as they're trying to get that to you?
So one way you can do that is, it depends on if it's a child or an adult. If your missing loved one is an adult, you can go through, if they have a job, you can go through their employer to find out what type of insurance they have. Give that information to the local investigating agency, and a law enforcement agency is able to request medical information, dental and medical information on a missing person without obtaining a subpoena, because we are trying to locate that missing person. So any information that you can provide, whether it is a dental office, a dental insurance provider, medical insurance provider, or again, military, if they were a part of the military, we're able to go through that avenue as well to obtain those records.
Great. Can you talk, have you all done any specific work with tribal communities or any specific recommendations for folks who are part of those communities to ensure that their missing persons are identified and located?
Yeah, so here within our Department of Justice, we do have an Office of Native American Affairs. I don't know their contact information off the top of my head, but it is also on our public website. They have held a series of events called Missing in California Indian Country. Last year, there was one in Riverside County and one in Humboldt County. It's my understanding that we hope to host other events in the future, but that is definitely a resource to reach out to. Again, we are constantly training our law enforcement partners as our role in MUPS, and we do have some upcoming training. Again, it's only for law enforcement, but we highly suggest that any tribal police also attend. And we have those coming up in 2025 in Salinas, Riverside, Redondo Beach, and Ukiah. So if anybody in law enforcement would like more information on those trainings, please reach out to me. And additionally, we do have our Bureau of Indian Affairs, which is our federal agency. There are agents here in California to assist specifically with missing person cases that have any kind of tribal affiliation or a missing person that goes missing on tribal land.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit, so you mentioned right there, you work with the federal government. Can you tell us a little bit more about, do you work or collaboration with other states perhaps, and ensuring that you're connecting with them to find any missing individuals?
Yes, so here at DOJ, we are the Missing Persons Clearinghouse. Every state has a Missing Persons Clearinghouse. So we have connections at literally every state and some of our territories as well. Guam has one, I believe Puerto Rico has one. So anytime we know of people going throughout other states, we can reach out to them. So for instance, I did have a request from San Bernardino County yesterday where they indicated a mom took 2 children and they may be in Arkansas, they may be in Wisconsin. So we were able to put them in touch with both of those clearinghouses.
Great. And I think last question maybe, but can you tell us a little bit more about how you came to find this work and how you got here?
It is kind of a niche field, but to become a crime analyst here, it's like any other state position. You take an exam. If you go to CalCareers, the major website for becoming a state employee, you would take an exam for a crime analyst 1. That would be our entry level position. We also have crime analyst 2, crime analyst 3, crime analyst supervisor. All of those positions require you to take an exam, and they all have different minimum qualifications. But you do not have to have a college degree to be a crime analyst here at the state. It does help, and it does increase your take-home pay. So it's definitely something to look at. Personally, I have a degree in forensic psychology and then a master's degree in forensic investigations. So I came here through kind of more on the unidentified person side. That is my passion today, but I've also come to love the missing person side of the unit.
Great. Well, thank you. Okay, well, unless there are any other questions, I think that does it. So thank you so much, Megan, and thank you everybody for attending. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Michael. And thank you all for joining us today for our Demystifying the DOJ on Missing and Identified Persons section. We hope that this presentation was informative and useful to you. Please keep in contact with us. You can always reach us at our email address, care@doj.ca.gov. The resources and links mentioned in this presentation are available on our website at oag.ca/care/demystifying-the-DOJ. And the recording of this presentation will also be available there shortly. We host these presentations quarterly, and the next one is scheduled for June 12th at the same time from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the Division of Medical Fraud and Elder Abuse. That's going to be the next one that we'll be discussing. And the mission of the Division of Medical Fraud and Abuse is to protect our most vulnerable citizens and help safeguard the state's Medi-Cal program. Registration for this webinar will be available soon on our website. Again, oeg.ca.gov/care/demystifying-the-DOJ. In the meantime, our chat moderator will post the direct link for you to register. If you are interested in watching any of our previous presentations in which we have covered reentry, reproductive justice, consumer protections, hate crimes, the Racial Justice Bureau, the Bureau for Children's Justice, or victim services, housing, workers' rights, you can find all those recordings on our website at www.oag.ca.gov/care. And thank you again for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your day.